Commander Alex Morrison rubbed his tired eyes as he stared at the sensor displays aboard the Orbital Defense Station New Horizon. The coffee had gone cold hours ago, but he barely noticed. Another quiet night shift watching the deep space scanners for threats that never came. Earth had been peaceful for so long that most people forgot why they even built these defense stations. The blue and green planet turned slowly below him, city lights twinkling like scattered diamonds across the dark. Continents. Mars colony checked in every hour with routine reports. The mining operations on the asteroid belt sent their daily shipment schedules. Everything was normal and boring, exactly how Alex liked it. Then the sensors screamed. Alex jumped in his chair as red warning lights flooded the control room. The main display showed massive energy signatures appearing at the edge of the solar system. His hands flew across the controls, trying to make sense of what he was seeing. The readings were impossible. Hundreds of contacts, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built. Control, this is New Horizon. Alex spoke into his headset, his voice steady despite the ice forming in his stomach. We have multiple unknown contacts entering the system. Massive energy signatures. Origin unknown. Copy that, New Horizon. Stand by for confirmation. Alex enhanced the scanner image and felt his breath catch. The objects were ships. Alien ships. Hundreds of them, arranged in perfect formation, like a wall of death moving toward Earth. Each vessel dwarfed humanity's largest battleships. The lead ship alone was bigger than most space stations. Admiral Kate Sullivan received the alert in her office at Fleet Command. She had been reviewing supply reports when the communication came through. Within minutes, she stood in the command center, watching the same impossible readings that had shaken Alex Morrison. Her staff moved with practiced efficiency, but she could see the fear in their eyes. How many ships are we looking at? She asked her intelligence officer. Over 300 confirmed contacts, Admiral. More appearing every minute. We estimate the lead vessel at 15 kilometers long. Kate felt the weight of command settle on her shoulders like a lead blanket. Earth's entire defensive fleet consisted of 47 ships. The aliens had brought enough firepower to gloss entire worlds. She activated the emergency protocols that she had hoped never to use. Get me President Carter immediately. Issue code red to all military installations. Begin civilian evacuation procedures from major population centers. President. John Carter was eating breakfast with his family when the call came. His wife saw his face change as he listened to Admiral Sullivan's report. Within an hour, he sat in the emergency bunker beneath the White House, surrounded by advisors and military leaders. The main screen showed the alien fleet approaching at impossible speed. Options? He asked the room. General Marcus Webb cleared his throat. Honestly, sir, we don't have many. Our ships are outgunned by at least 10 to 1. These things are moving faster than anything we've ever seen. At current speed, they'll reach Earth orbit in 6 hours. Dr. Lisa Hamilton stepped forward. She had been Earth's leading expert on theoretical alien contact for 15 years. Today, theory became terrifying reality. Mr. President, we need to attempt communication. This could be a misunderstanding. Maybe they don't know we're here. As if responding to her words, every communication system on Earth received the same transmission. The voice was mechanical, translated through some kind of universal device. The words were broken and harsh, but the meaning was clear. Primitive. Species of third planet. You exist in territory claimed by Catherian Empire. Surrender immediately for quick death. Resistance means slow death. You have 1 rotation of your planet to comply. Cleansing protocols will then begin. The transmission. Cut off, leaving silence in the bunker. President Carter looked around at the pale faces of his advisors. His daughter was at college. His son was serving on Mars. His wife was somewhere in the bunker, probably crying. The weight of 7 billion lives pressed down on him. Dr. Hamilton. Try to contact them. Tell them we want to talk. General Webb. What can our military do? Webb's expression was grim. We can fight, sir. We can make them pay for every inch. But realistically, we're looking at delaying the inevitable. Captain Ryan Brooks stood on the bridge of the battleship Defiance, watching his crew prepare for what they all knew was a suicide mission. He had joined the Navy to explore the stars and protect Earth's growing colonies. He never imagined he would be leading humanity's final battle. His ship was the pride of Earth's fleet. Advanced weapons, strong shields, and a crew that had trained for every possible scenario except this one. Around him, 46 other ships took formation. Destroyers, cruisers, and frigates all prepared to face an enemy they couldn't possibly defeat. Captain, we're receiving new orders from Fleet Command. His communications officer reported. Ryan read the message and felt his heart sink further. They were to engage the alien fleet near Jupiter, buying time for evacuation efforts on Earth. The math was simple and brutal. 47 human ships against 300 alien vessels. It would be over quickly. All ships, this is Captain Brooks. We know the odds. We know what we're facing. But Earth is behind us, and we're all that stands between our families and those things out there. We might not win, but we're going to make them remember that humans don't go quietly. Aboard the lead Cytherian vessel, War Commander Zephyx reviewed the intelligence reports on the third planet's inhabitants. The species called themselves humans. They had barely mastered space travel and showed no signs of advanced weapons or shields. Their ships were primitive constructs of metal and chemical propulsion. The cleansing would be routine. Zephyx had overseen the elimination of 14 species in his career. Most surrendered immediately when they saw the Empire's power. A few tried to fight with laughably primitive weapons. All ended the same way: complete annihilation and the colonization of their worlds by proper Cytherian citizens. The humans would be no different. Their panic broadcasts amused him. They begged for communication, for understanding, for mercy. They didn't seem to grasp that they were simply in the way of galactic progress. The Empire needed their system's resources, and they were an obstacle to be removed. War Commander, the human ships are moving to intercept us, reported his tactical officer. Zephyx clicked his mandibles in what passed for laughter among his species. Let them come. We will crush their pathetic fleet, and then begin the cleansing of their breeding worlds. The Empire will be pleased with our efficiency. Back on Earth, families hugged each other as air raid sirens wailed across every continent. Children asked parents why the sky was full of strange lights. Emergency broadcasts urged calm while showing evacuation routes that everyone knew led nowhere safe enough. In the orbital defense stations, technicians like Alex Morrison tracked the approaching fleets with growing dread. The alien ships maintained perfect formation, never deviating from their course toward Earth. No response came to any human attempts at communication. The die was cast. In a few hours, two species would meet in battle for the first time. One side brought overwhelming force and absolute confidence. The other brought desperate courage and nothing left to lose. Neither side truly understood what they were about to face. The first battle began near Jupiter's massive red storms. Captain Ryan Brooks gripped his command chair as the Defiance led Earth's battle fleet into what everyone knew was certain death. The alien ships waited in perfect formation, their dark hulls gleaming with energy weapons that could melt mountains. All ships maintain formation until we're in weapons range, Ryan ordered into his headset. Remember, we're buying time for Earth. Every minute we keep them busy is another minute for people to get to safety. Lieutenant Commander Nina Parker sat in her fighter cockpit, part of the squadron launched from the carrier Independence. Her hands were steady on the controls, but her heart hammered against her ribs. Through her canopy, she could see the alien fleet spreading across space like a cancer. The enemy ships were beautiful in a terrifying way, all flowing curves and glowing energy conduits. Fighter squadrons, this is Parker. Use Jupiter's radiation field to mask your approach. We might be small enough to get close before they notice us. The first exchange of fire lit up space with deadly light. Human plasma cannons and missile systems struck alien shields that barely flickered under the impact. The return fire was devastating. The destroyer Houston vanished in a ball of white fire. The cruiser Denver lasted 3 seconds longer before her hull split open like a broken egg. Ryan watched 2 of his ships die in the first minute and felt rage burn through his fear. All ships, evasive maneuvers. Use the asteroids for cover. Don't give them easy targets. War Commander FX observed the battle from his command throne, clicking his mandibles in satisfaction. The human ships moved with crude predictability. Their weapons were laughably primitive. Their shields collapsed under the lightest touch of Cytherian energy beams. This would be over within the hour. Focus fire on their largest vessels first, he ordered. Eliminate their command structure, and the rest will scatter like frightened prey. But something unexpected happened. Instead of scattering, the human ships pressed closer. When the battleship Yorktown took critical damage, her captain rammed his dying vessel into a Cytherian destroyer. The explosion took out both ships and damaged 2 more alien vessels. Nina Parker saw the sacrifice and felt something cold settle in her chest. She led her squadron through Jupiter's radiation storms, using the planet's magnetic field to hide from alien sensors. When they emerged behind the enemy fleet, she targeted the closest alien ship's weapon systems. All fighters hit their gun. Ports, if we can't destroy them, maybe we can blind them. Her missiles struck home, and for the first time, a Cytherian ship showed actual damage. Armor plates buckled. Energy conduits exploded in showers of sparks. The alien vessel turned to track her small fighter, and Nina felt a moment of fierce joy. She had hurt them. On Earth, General Marcus Webb coordinated the desperate defense from his command bunker. Reports flooded in from around the globe as people refused to run. Factory workers had stayed at their posts, converting production lines from civilian goods to weapons. Farmers were digging trenches in their fields. School teachers led children in evacuation drills that looked more like military exercises. "Sir, we're getting strange reports from the civilian sectors," his aide reported. "People aren't evacuating. They're asking for weapons instead." Webb studied the reports with growing amazement. Factory worker Jake Collins had organized his entire plant into a weapons production facility. They were building crude missiles and armor-piercing rounds using mining equipment and industrial machinery. Teacher Emma Foster had turned her school into a refugee center, but instead of teaching children to hide, she was teaching them basic military communications. "Get me President Carter," Webb said. "He needs to see this." The president sat in the emergency bunker, watching the battle near Jupiter on the main screen. Each time a human ship died, he felt a piece of his soul tear away. These were his people, dying for time he wasn't sure how to use. Then Webb's report reached him, and John Carter felt something he hadn't expected. Hope. "They're not running?" he asked, reviewing the civilian reports. "No, sir, they're fighting. Every city, every town, every settlement is asking for weapons and defensive positions. It's like the entire planet has decided to become soldiers." Dr. Lisa Hamilton burst into the command center with her tablet clutched against her chest. Her hair was wild, and her lab coat was stained with coffee, but her eyes burned with excitement. "Mr. President, I've been analyzing the alien weapon signatures. Their technology is completely different from ours, but that works both ways. She brought up her analysis on the main screen. Their shields are designed to stop energy weapons and high-velocity projectiles. But our weapons work on different principles. Their shields can't adapt to our attack patterns because they've never seen anything like them before. Back near Jupiter, Nina Parker discovered the same thing through pure accident. Her fighter had been damaged, and her missiles were firing with irregular timing. Instead of the steady barrage the aliens expected, her weapons struck in chaotic patterns. The enemy ship's shields flickered and failed, and her final missile punched through to hit the hull directly. "Control, this is Parker. I just took down an alien shield. Their defenses can't handle random attack patterns." Captain Brooks heard the transmission and felt the first spark of real hope since the battle began. "All ships, randomize your firing patterns. Don't give them steady targets to lock onto." The change was immediate. Human ships that had been dying quickly began landing actual hits on alien vessels. The destroyer Phoenix crippled a Cytherian cruiser with a wild spinning attack. That made no tactical sense. The frigate Portland took out an alien weapon platform by firing while performing emergency maneuvers to avoid debris. War Commander Zephyx stared at his tactical displays in growing confusion. The human ships were behaving irrationally. Their attack patterns made no sense according to any military doctrine he knew. His computers couldn't predict their movements because there was no logic to predict. Why are they attacking like this? He demanded from his tactical officer, "Unknown War Commander. Their actions appear random and self-destructive, yet they are achieving success through methods our systems cannot analyze." For the first time in his long military career, Zephyx felt something he had never experienced: uncertainty. These primitives were fighting with passion instead of logic, and somehow it was working. They should have been dead or running by now. Instead, they pressed closer with each passing minute. Engineer Carlos Martinez worked frantically in the Earth. Orbital shipyards, converting civilian vessels into weapons platforms. Cargo ships became missile carriers. Passenger shuttles became ramming vessels packed with explosives. Mining ships had their drilling lasers refocused into cutting beams. "We need every hull that can fly," he told his exhausted crew. "I don't care if it's a garbage scow or a luxury yacht. If it has engines, we can make it fight." Freighter Captain Beth Turner volunteered her cargo ship Steady Eddie for conversion. Carlos and his team packed her hold with every explosive they could find and rigged her autopilot for a final journey. Beth would pilot the ship manually until the last moment, then escape in a pod while her vessel continued toward its target. "You sure about this, Captain?" Carlos asked as they finished the modifications. Beth looked at the tactical display showing the battle near Jupiter. Human ships were dying, but they were also fighting. Her husband was somewhere in that chaos, commanding a destroyer. Her daughter was on Mars, probably watching Earth's sky light up with weapons fire. "My family's up there," she said simply. "This is what I can do to help them." The battle raged for 6 hours. Earth lost 23 ships, but the aliens had lost 8 vessels and taken damage on dozens more. For a species that expected easy victory, the Cytherian fleet had encountered something they never anticipated: humans, who fought harder when the odds got worse. As the alien fleet regrouped and moved toward Earth's inner system. War Commander Zephyx composed his first report to the Empire in over a century that did not declare complete success. The primitives were proving more resilient than anticipated. On Earth, President Carter addressed the world as enemy ships approached their home. His words were simple and clear. "We are not surrendering. We are not running. We are fighting for our world, our families, and our future. Every person who can hold a weapon will stand ready. This is our planet, and we will defend it." Across Earth's surface, 7 billion people prepared for war. War Commander Zevix paced his command deck with growing frustration. 2 weeks had passed since the first battle, and the humans continued to resist with methods that defied all military logic. His tactical computers had given up trying to predict their movements. Every time his fleet adapted to human tactics, the primitives changed their approach completely. "Status report," he demanded from his tactical officer. "We have eliminated 31 human vessels, but they continue to replace losses with converted civilian ships. Their attack patterns remain unpredictable. We have lost 12 ships and sustained damage to 47 others." Zefex's mandibles clicked in anger. In any normal conquest, the enemy would have surrendered after losing half their fleet. These humans seemed to grow more determined with each defeat. Their latest attacks included cargo ships packed with explosives, mining vessels using industrial lasers as weapons, and passenger shuttles that rammed his destroyers at full speed. On Earth, engineer Carlos Martinez had barely slept in 2 weeks. Every civilian ship in the solar system was being converted into a weapon of some kind. The orbital shipyards worked around the clock, turning peaceful vessels into instruments of war. Garbage scows became missile platforms. Tourist ships became troop transports. Even small personal shuttles were rigged with explosives for suicide runs. "Carlos, we need more ships," Admiral Kate Sullivan told him during one of his rare breaks. "The aliens are moving closer to Earth every day." "I'll give you everything that can fly," Carlos promised. "But we're running out of materials. The miners on the asteroid belt are working overtime, but it takes time to get raw metals here." Admiral Sullivan nodded grimly. "Time is something we don't have much of." Freighter Captain Beth Turner had become something of a legend among the civilian volunteers. Her ship Steady Eddie had been packed with explosives for a suicide run, but she had used it to cripple an alien cruiser instead, escaping in a pod at the last second. Now she commanded a small fleet of converted cargo ships, leading them in attacks that made seasoned military officers shake their heads in amazement. "The trick is to do what they don't expect," she explained to a group of new volunteer captains. "They think like a computer, all logical and planned. We think like humans, which means we're crazy enough to try anything." Her latest plan involved using 3 cargo ships to create a debris field in the aliens' path, then hiding attack ships inside the wreckage. It was the kind of plan that would never work in a training simulation, but against enemies who expected rational behavior, it was devastatingly effective. Colonel Sam Fisher had been studying captured alien technology for days, trying to understand how the enemy thought. What he discovered changed everything. The aliens weren't individuals like humans. They were part of a collective mind that shared thoughts and decisions instantly. Their perfect coordination came from thinking as one giant brain instead of separate people. "This explains everything," he told Dr. Lisa Hamilton as they reviewed his findings. "They can't understand why we act independently. When a human pilot decides to ram their ship, they can't predict it because no logical computer would make that choice." Dr. Hamilton's eyes lit up with understanding. They're trying to fight a war against 7 billion individual minds with one collective brain. No wonder they're having trouble. The breakthrough came when teenage hacker Danny Rodriguez managed to crack one of the alien communication networks. The 17-year-old had been living in his parents' basement, surviving on energy drinks and determination while he worked on the problem that had stumped Earth's best computer experts. "I'm in," he announced to the military technicians who had been watching over his shoulder. Their network is huge, but it's not designed for security. They've never had to worry about enemy hackers before. What Danny found in the alien communications was a goldmine of intelligence. Fleet positions, attack plans, supply routes, and most importantly, personal messages between alien commanders. For the first time, humans could see how their enemy really thought. The aliens were confused and increasingly desperate. They had expected a quick victory, followed by systematic destruction of human settlements. Instead, they found themselves fighting a war that made no sense according to their understanding of military science. Every human they killed seemed to inspire 10 more to fight harder. Captain Ryan Brooks, now commanding a mixed fleet of military and civilian vessels, used Danny's intelligence to plan increasingly bold attacks. His forces struck alien supply convoys using information stolen from their own networks. They attacked from directions the aliens never expected because no logical commander would risk ships in such dangerous positions. "Sir, the aliens are requesting reinforcements from their empire," Benny reported during one of their planning sessions. "The war commander is admitting he can't complete the mission with his current forces." Brooks felt a spark of hope. What did the Empire tell him? They refused. They said any commander who can't handle primitive beings doesn't deserve reinforcements. The news spread through Earth's resistance like wildfire. The mighty Cytherian Empire didn't think humans were worth sending more ships to fight. It was an insult that became a source of pride for every person fighting to defend their world. On Mars Colony, where Ryan's son Jake Collins worked in the mining operations, the news sparked a celebration. Jake had been organizing the miners into a defense force, turning mining equipment into weapons, just like his father had done on Earth. When he heard that the aliens couldn't get help from home, he made a decision that would have terrified any military planner. "We're not waiting for them to attack us," he announced to his fellow miners. "We're taking our ships and joining the fight at Earth." The Mars mining fleet wasn't designed for combat, but Jake and his team had spent weeks converting drilling ships into missile platforms and ore haulers into troop transports. When they launched toward Earth, they carried the hopes of every human settlement in the outer system. Young pilot Rachel Cooper had been flying reconnaissance missions for weeks, her small scout ship slipping through alien formations to gather intelligence. She was barely 22 years old, but her ability to think 3 steps ahead of the enemy had made her invaluable to the resistance. Her latest mission was the most dangerous yet: capture an alien command ship intact. "You're insane, Captain," Brooks told her when she presented the plan. "That ship has shields, weapons, and a crew of hundreds." "It also has the complete battle plans for their next attack," Rachel replied. "Danny's hacking gave us the location, but we need physical access to their main computers to get the really important stuff." The mission launched with Rachel leading. A small team of volunteers and captured alien fighter craft. They had learned to fly the enemy ships through trial and error, crashing dozens of captured fighters before figuring out the alien control systems. Now those hard-learned lessons would either save Earth or get them all killed. As the alien fleet moved closer to Earth, both sides prepared for what everyone knew would be the final battle. The humans had survived longer than anyone thought possible, but their resources were running low. The aliens still had overwhelming firepower, but their confidence had been shattered by weeks of unexpected defeats. War Commander Zevix received one final message from the Cytherian Empire. If he failed to complete his mission within the next rotation, he would be stripped of rank and exiled. The Empire was losing patience with his inability to crush a primitive species. On Earth, President John Carter prepared to address the world one more time. His words would either rally humanity for a final victory or serve as their epitaph. In his hands, he held reports of impossible courage from every corner of human space. Teachers had become soldiers, children had become messengers, and ordinary people had become heroes. The final phase of the war was about to begin, and neither side knew which way it would end. The third week of war brought something the Cytherian Empire had never encountered in their 1,000-year history of conquest. The humans were getting stronger. Every battle taught them new ways to fight. Every defeat made them more determined. Every loss inspired greater acts of heroism from their survivors. Factory Supervisor Linda Garcia stood in the converted automobile plant that now produced nothing but weapons and ammunition. The workers had volunteered to stay despite the approaching alien fleet. They worked 18-hour shifts, sleeping on cots between the assembly lines, eating cold meals while building the tools their species needed to survive. "Linda, we've got the new missile designs from the tech boys," her foreman called out. "They want us to build 1,000 units by tomorrow." "Then we build 1,000, Linda replied, wiping grease from her hands. "My grandson is up there fighting. In one of those ships. I'm not stopping until every alien is dead or gone." The workers around her nodded in agreement. These were people who had built cars and trucks for peaceful purposes just a month ago. Now they crafted instruments of war, with the same dedication they had once put into civilian products. Their work would either save humanity or serve as monuments to their final stand. Retired Marine Tony Blake had been living quietly in a small farming town when the invasion began. At 62 years old, he thought his fighting days were long over. But when alien landing craft began probing Earth's outer defenses, Tony found himself leading a civilian militia armed with hunting rifles and farming equipment. "Remember, these things are tough, but they're not magic," he told the group of teachers, shopkeepers, and farmers who had volunteered to defend their town. "Aim for the joints in their armor. Work together. Watch each other's backs." His ragtag force had already turned back 2 alien scouting parties using tactics that would have made military strategists laugh. They hid in grain silos, attacked from irrigation ditches, and used farm machinery as improvised weapons. The aliens expected organized resistance from trained soldiers, not farmers with shotguns who knew every inch of their land. Captain Ryan Brooks commanded what could barely be called a fleet anymore. Military ships flew alongside converted garbage haulers, luxury yachts packed with missiles, and mining vessels that used industrial lasers as weapons. His flagship Defiance was held, together with emergency patches and determination, but she still flew, and her guns still fired. "Sir, we're getting reports from the Mars convoy," his communications officer announced. "Jake Collins and his mining fleet will reach Earth orbit in 6 hours. Brooks smiled for the first time in weeks. Jake was his own son, leading a desperate charge from the outer colonies with every ship that could make the journey. The reinforcements wouldn't tip the balance of the war, but they proved something important. Humanity would not go quietly into extinction. The alien fleet had taken positions around Earth's moon, preparing for what War Commander's FX promised would be the final assault. His ships had been worn down by weeks of unexpected resistance, but he still commanded enough firepower to destroy every human settlement in the solar system. The Empire's patience had reached its limit. "All ships prepare for bombardment of the third planet," Zephex ordered. "Target population centers first. Military installations second. Leave nothing alive that can threaten future colonization." But as his fleet moved into attack formation, the humans launched their most desperate gambit yet. Rachel Cooper had succeeded in her impossible mission to capture an alien command ship, though the cost had been terrible. Half her team died in the assault, but they had gained access to the enemy's central computer systems that Dr. Lisa Hamilton worked frantically in her laboratory, analyzing the captured alien technology with equipment that had never been designed for such purposes. What she discovered changed everything humanity thought they knew about their enemies. The aliens weren't just a hive mind. They were a single consciousness spread across millions of bodies, thinking with perfect unity, but also perfect conformity. "They can't understand us because we're the opposite of everything they are," she explained to President Carter and the military leadership. "Every human thinks differently. We disagree, we argue, we make choices based on emotions and instincts. They can't comprehend. How does that help us win?" General Webb asked. Dr. Hamilton's smile was fierce. Because I think I know how to break their collective consciousness. If we can flood their communication network with human thoughts and emotions, it might overload their ability to think as one mind. The plan was insane by any reasonable standard. Earth's remaining broadcast networks would transmit every type of human communication directly into the alien fleet's communication systems. Music, poetry, arguments, love letters, children's laughter, soldiers' curses, and most importantly, the individual thoughts of billions of separate minds, all thinking different things at the same time. Teenage hacker Danny Rodriguez had been working non-stop to maintain access to the alien networks. His parents brought him food while he typed, understanding that their son held one of the keys to humanity's survival. When Dr. Hamilton explained what she needed, Danny's eyes lit up with understanding. "I can do it," he said, "but we'll need every transmitter on the planet working together. Radio, television, internet, everything broadcasting at the same time." The preparation took 12 hours, while the alien fleet moved into final attack positions. Across Earth, every human settlement prepared for the assault they all knew was coming. But this time, they would fight with something the aliens had never faced before: the full power of human individuality, unleashed as a weapon on the space. Stations orbiting Earth, Commander Alex Morrison coordinated with dozens of other operators to align their communication arrays. These men and women had watched the war from the front lines, seeing their planet fight for survival against impossible odds. Now they would play a crucial role in humanity's final gambit. "All stations, prepare for simultaneous broadcast," Alex announced. "We're about to show these aliens what 7 billion individual minds sound like when they're all talking at once." War Commander ZFX began his final attack as the human planet's day cycle brought their major population centers into view. His weapons charged for bombardment that would end the resistance once and for all. But as his fleet prepared to fire, something impossible happened to the Catherian collective consciousness. Human voices flooded their communication network. Not just words, but thoughts, emotions, dreams, fears, hopes, and the chaotic creativity of billions of minds that had never learned to think in unison. The effect on the hive mind was catastrophic. For the first time in their species' existence, individual Catherians began to experience doubt, confusion, and independent thought. Zephyx felt his perfect unity with the fleet consciousness begin to fracture. He could hear human children singing, human lovers arguing, human soldiers crying for their mothers, and human poets describing beauty that had no logical purpose. The overwhelming diversity of human consciousness crashed against his ordered mind like a tsunami of chaos. "War Commander, our systems are experiencing unprecedented interference," his tactical officer reported, but his voice carried something new: uncertainty, individual fear, the beginnings of independent thought that had been suppressed for millions of years. On Earth, President Carter watched the alien fleet falter in their attack formation. Ships that had moved in perfect coordination for weeks now drifted out of position. Some fired at random targets. Others simply stopped moving altogether. The human broadcast was working, but no one knew how long the effect would last. The final battle was about to begin. But for the first time since the invasion started, humanity had a chance to win. The final battle erupted across Earth's sky as the alien fleet struggled against the chaos flooding their collective mind. War Commander Zephyx clutched his command throne, fighting against thoughts and emotions that had no place in his ordered consciousness. Human laughter mixed with alien tactical data. Children's songs disrupted weapon targeting systems. Love poems crashed through military communications like viruses of pure emotion. All ships maintained formation, Zephyx tried to order, but his words came out mixed with fragments of human speech he had absorbed from the broadcast. Target the primary population centers, and eliminate the resistance with extreme prejudice. And remember to call your mother, because she worries about you." His tactical officer stared at him in confusion. Individual thought was creeping into Catherian minds that had never experienced personal opinions or independent decisions. Some alien ships began firing at random targets. Others simply drifted through space as their crews experienced something their species had forgotten over millions of years of collective existence: the terrifying freedom of thinking for themselves. Admiral Kate Sullivan seized the moment of alien confusion to launch humanity's final assault. Every ship that could fly joined the attack. Military vessels flew alongside garbage haulers converted into missile platforms. Luxury yachts packed with explosives charged toward alien destroyers. Mining ships from the asteroid belt used industrial equipment as weapons of war. All ships. This is Admiral Sullivan. The aliens are confused and scattered. Hit them with everything we have. This is our chance to save Earth. Captain Ryan Brooks led the charge aboard his battered flagship Defiance. The ship had been patched and repatched so many times that her original hull was barely visible under layers of emergency repairs. But her weapons still worked, and her crew still fought with the desperate courage that had carried humanity through 3 weeks of impossible war. "Target that command ship," Brooks ordered, pointing at the massive vessel where War Commander Zefix struggled to maintain control. "If we can take out their leader, maybe the rest will break apart completely." Young. Pilot Rachel Cooper flew her captured alien fighter alongside human ships that had become her new family. She had survived the mission to steal alien technology, and now she used that same technology against its creators. Her stolen ship confused alien targeting systems, appearing as friendly on their sensors while carrying weapons that struck at the heart of their formation. This is Cooper. "I'm seeing multiple alien ships breaking formation. Some are firing on their own forces. Whatever Dr. Hamilton did, it's working." On the planet below, Dr. Lisa Hamilton monitored the broadcast that was tearing apart the alien collective consciousness. Every radio station, television network, and internet connection on Earth transmitted the full spectrum of human thought directly into alien communication systems. The effect was like pouring chaos into a perfectly ordered machine. "Increase the power," she ordered her technical staff. "Send them everything. Every human voice, every thought, every dream and nightmare. Show them what it means to be individuals instead of parts of a machine." In the converted automobile factory, Linda Garcia and her workers cheered as they watched the battle through the factory's windows. Alien ships that had moved in perfect formation now stumbled through space like trunks trying to walk straight. The weapons they were building were finally making a difference in a war that had seemed hopeless just hours before. "Keep working," Linda shouted over the noise of celebration. "Our people up there still need ammunition. We don't stop until every alien is gone or dead." Retired Marine Tony Blake watched the sky battle from his small farming town while preparing his civilian militia for ground combat. Alien landing craft had been trying to establish bases on Earth's surface, but now they seemed lost and confused. Some had crash-landed when their pilots became overwhelmed by human thoughts flooding their consciousness. "Looks like the aliens are having a bad day," he told his volunteers. "But stay ready. Wounded animals are the most dangerous kind." The truth of his words became clear as War Commander Zefix, driven to the edge of madness by human emotions he couldn't understand, made a final desperate decision. If he couldn't complete his mission with precision, he would finish it with brute force. Every weapon on every remaining ship would fire at Earth simultaneously, turning the planet into a lifeless rock. "All ships that can still hear my commands." He broadcast on every frequency. "Ignore targeting systems. Fire everything at the planet below. Sterilize it completely." But the human broadcast had damaged Cytherian unity too severely. Only half his ships responded to the order. The others drifted in space as their crews experienced individual thoughts for the first time in their species' history. Some alien. Soldiers began to question why they were killing creatures who showed such incredible diversity of thought and emotion. President John Carter stood in the White House bunker, watching the final phase of the battle that would determine humanity's survival. The alien fleet was breaking apart, but those ships still under central command were preparing to destroy Earth through sheer destructive power. He had one final card to play. "Open a channel to the alien fleet," he ordered. "All frequencies. I want every alien to hear this." His broadcast reached both human and alien receivers across the solar system. Carter's voice was calm and steady as he spoke words that would either save his species or serve as their final message to the universe. To the Cytherian Empire and War Commander Zephyx, we are humans. We think as individuals, not as a collective. We disagree with each other, fight among ourselves, and make decisions based on emotions you don't understand. But we also love, create, dream, and sacrifice ourselves for others without logical reason. Carter paused, looking at the faces of his advisors and military leaders. People who had worked without sleep for weeks, fighting for their families and their world. You came here to destroy us because we were in your way. But we are not just obstacles to your expansion. We are 7 billion individual minds, each one different, each one valuable. We offer you something your empire has never known, the chance to think for yourselves instead of being told what to think. The response came from an unexpected source. Individual Cytherian soldiers, their minds freed by exposure to human consciousness, began abandoning their posts. Ships stopped firing as crews questioned orders they had never thought to disobey before. The perfect unity that had made the Empire strong became its weakness when faced with the chaotic creativity of human thought. War Commander Zephyx felt his sanity slipping away as human emotions continued to flood his consciousness. Love, hate, fear, hope, joy, sorrow, and 1,000 other feelings he had no words for crashed through his ordered mind like a storm of pure chaos. In his final moment of clarity, he understood what the humans had done to his fleet. They had taught his people how to think for themselves. And once that lesson was learned, it could never be unlearned. The alien fleet withdrew, but not in defeat. They left because individual Cytherians were making individual choices to stop fighting a war they no longer understood. Some ships fled toward deep space. Others requested permission to land on Earth and learn more about these creatures who thought as billions instead of one. Earth was saved, but the cost had been enormous. Cities lay in ruins. Millions had died. The planet would take years to rebuild. But humanity had survived their first contact with a galactic empire, and in doing so, they had fundamentally changed both species forever. President Carter's final broadcast to the world was simple. We won because we never stopped being human. We fought not just with weapons, but with our hearts, our minds, and our refusal to give up hope. Today, we prove that diversity of thought is the strongest force in the universe. In the years that followed, humans and reformed Cytherians would work together to spread individual consciousness throughout a galaxy that had forgotten what it meant to think freely. The invasion that was meant to destroy humanity, instead, became the beginning of a new age of freedom. Among the stars, the children who had hidden in shelters during the war grew up to become explorers, carrying human ideals of individual thought and personal freedom to worlds that had never known such concepts. Earth's darkest hour had become the galaxy's brightest dawn,